Welcome to the LDN radio show, brought to you by the LDN Research Trust. I'm your host, Linda Elsiegood. I have an exciting lineup of guest speakers who are LDN experts in their field. We will be discussing low-dose Naltrexone and its many uses in autoimmune diseases, cancers, etc. Thank you for joining us. Today I'd like to welcome back our guest Teresa from the United States. Now Teresa takes LDN and she was originally diagnosed with MCAS, mold and hormone issues. So welcome back, Teresa.
Thank you.
So for our listeners that didn't hear the first interview, could you explain when you were at your sickest, what you were like, how long ago was that?
I think, between 2019 and the 2021, I was the sickest, and I had reactions, was down to a few foods, had histamine intolerance. I had all kinds of gut problems. I even had symptoms of POTS, where I'd feel like I was going to pass out all the time, couldn't exercise, couldn't really function. Life was just really hard. Neuroinflammation, jumbled thoughts, all that kind of stuff. And I was working gut protocols and mold protocols and doing all the things to try to help myself. But that was just making me worse in a way.
Okay. So when did all that actually start? Before 2019, did you say?
No, it started then. That's when it started for me, was 2019, when I got really sick and went from there.
Had you been having symptoms prior to that, but just dismissed them, do you think?
Yeah, I actually had endometriosis type of symptoms where I'd have different pains and, even not on a period, even off of a period, I would have random bouts of pain. I would have a hot, flushed red face whenever I worked out. Diarrhea, I had some symptoms before that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I just never really paid attention to. Yeah.
Well, when you're busy living your life, you don't notice things that aren't that bad, that you can live with. But it's when it gets so you can't live with it, it's a big issue. So how long was it when you had these problems in 2019 to find a doctor that would listen to you and help you?
I didn't find any doctors in the system that would listen to me. I had to go to functional medicine and naturopathic medicine, and then they were able to help me, and they definitely heard me out.
Mm-hmm. What kind of treatment did you get at that time?
Well, I did supplements, herbs. I did different types of homeopathics, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So when you were at your sickest, could you describe a typical day, what it was like for you from getting up in the morning to going to bed at night, so we can get a picture of your health?
Yeah, I would get up in the morning and I would either wake up sweating or nauseous, and sometimes I just have to move my bowels. Sometimes I would wake up and about 2 hours after I'd get up, I'd start getting an increased heart rate. And I'd start to feel weak, and I'd have to sit down. I wouldn't be able to walk around much. And so then I was an online therapist. So I would get online, I would try to see some clients, and then I would just still feel crappy. Sometime during the day, I might feel a little bit better, a few hours, but I couldn't be around intense smells. I couldn't go outside. I was having reactions to everything, scent, food. If I ate, I'd sometimes 2 or 3 bites in, I'd start to feel sick or nauseous. So, that was at its worst. I couldn't exercise, and, I couldn't go out and do things with people. I was pretty much homebound. And luckily for me, this happened during COVID. So everybody was inside. But if it wouldn't have been COVID, I probably would have felt really worse mentally and emotionally. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how long did it take once you found your functional medicine team to help you feel better?
I didn't until I got on LDN. So I felt better in windows. I would feel, better because I was getting out of the toxins. I was learning how to eat properly, which I do like a carnivore diet now, I was learning like, about your mitochondria health and your, all of your systems and how they function and what they want and what you do for health and your nervous system and relaxation and, meditation. So I was doing all the healthy things. I was, doing gut protocols and I was, doing cellular protocols, and that was helping. But I would still have these reactions. Like it was still so sensitive. I was like a live wire, and it was still so hard to tamp down the fire, even though my body was starting to improve. And it wasn't really until I started that all, really got better.
So was it the same functional medicine doctor that prescribed you the LDN, or did you have to see someone else?
It was him. He prescribes it for me. But I actually watched a video by one particular functional medicine doctor in Texas, and she was talking about LDN, and another one who works with mast cell. They both mentioned it. And I was like, I don't know, but it was my roommate who had gotten on it, who was also very sick from mold, and she started getting better. And I was looking at her going, well, all of a sudden you're gaining your weight back. You can eat more foods. Like, what the hell? She was like, I swear it's this LDN. And I'm like, oh, I'm afraid to take it. I'm sensitive to medication. I'm afraid of like, anything that has to do. I like, you hear Naltrexone and you hear opiate blocker. So I was like, oh, I'm freaking out. I don't know. So I was like, let me just start out with the tiniest bit. So that's what I did. And that's how I got started on it.
Mm-hmm. And when was that? 2021?
Let's see, 1920, 21. No, it was October of 22. No, you're right. It was October of 21 is when I got on it. That's when I started it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when you started, were your fears put to rest? Did you start low and go slow and not?
I went low. Like I had a 0.5 capsule, and I would just do sprinkles out of the 0.5. And I got up to like a quarter and then a half, but I had very strange symptoms at first when I took it. I had like tightening in my jaw, and then I had like some nasal stuffiness for like the first couple weeks, on and off. And then I had noticed like warming and cold sensations in my body, but that was really it. Nothing too strange. And I think for the first 3 months, I didn't notice too much of a difference because, again, I'm at this like low dose. So I just worked my way up for a few months.
And then what did you notice?
Well, then I started to notice gradually that I didn't have those histamine reactions so bad anymore. I was eating a little bit more peacefully, had a little bit more foods. And then I started to gain my weight back, like, because I was way underweight. I started to gain some healthy weight back. And I was like, I'm feeling better. So I started to notice that I was feeling more alive, again. But I was also leading a very healthy lifestyle, I must say. I work out, I take care of myself, I eat right, I don't cheat. I don't take any other medications aside from a birth control pill to control like cysts, and that's it. I take nothing else. So, I was clear to know that was working. It was doing its job.
It was interesting to say, I don't cheat, because
like no cheat meals. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you cheat with your diet, there's only one person you're cheating, is yourself. I mean, nobody else really cares, do they?
Yeah, right.
It only affects you. So what's your diet like now?
I'm carnivore mostly. I eat meat, but I order it from like organic, healthy sources, grass fed. I'll eat some vegetable, but not many. I have like healthy fats, sweet potato. I don't eat grain. So that's the biggest thing is I feel like grain's inflammatory for me. And my body doesn't like it. So I minimize that if ever. Eat the grain. And I don't eat too many vegetables either. I don't know. I substitute with some folate, and I take some B complex, but I like carnivore diet for myself.
Do you eat fish?
I don't like fish. I just eat like beef, chicken. I will eat lamb. I'll eat venison if it comes my way, stuff like that. Yeah.
I know some people on a carnivore diet who will have full fat cheese. I'm a
Hmm.
cheese lover. Do you eat cheese?
Not really too often. I just don't care for it. I would eat like raw, raw cheese or fresh cheese or something like that, but I don't really, it doesn't
What
really do much.
what about eggs?
Actually, I have like an egg allergy, so my body doesn't like eggs. Yeah, yeah, so
Oh,
I can't
wow.
do them.
So how long have you been on the carnivore diet?
I started it probably um, right when I was starting to take LDN. I gradually was going into carnivore, and I probably been on it pretty strict now for about 2 years and 2.5 maybe. Yeah,
Hmm. And how's your weight been on the
my
carnivore
weight's
diet?
perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
I lift weights. I back to lifting weights and exercising, and I'm a steady 135. I'm 5'4", and so I'm great. I'm great
Mm,
with my weight.
that's good.
Yeah.
Well, you sound absolutely amazing, and what you're doing obviously is working really well for you.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, I don't take a high dose of LDN, so I take point 0.5 and I love it. But for me, point 0.5 is good for me. And I do a ginger filler, and um there was one incident where I did have to stop taking my LDN. If you wanted to hear about that, it was
Mhm.
interesting.
Okay.
Um, so I got a crown on my tooth. There was an old cavity. They wanted to take it out, so they wanted to put a crown on there. And so they were trying to get my tooth numb, and it just wasn't numbing up. And I was like, oh, that's weird. So they giving me more shots, more shots, more shots. And so then after I had that tooth fixed, my cheek hurt into my ear, down my neck, like throbbing. So I was like giving it time to heal. And then I just noticed the link between LDN and this shooting pain. I would take the LDN, and an hour later, I'd get intense pain in my nerve along my tooth. So I stopped taking it for about 2.5 weeks, and then that pain resolved, and then it was gone. So I took it again. Or the first time I took it, I went off LDN for 5 days. I was like, okay, the pain's fine, it's gone. I started taking LDN again, it came right back. And so I was like, this is really weird. So then I stopped taking it for 2 weeks, maybe 2.5, 3 weeks. The pain subsided. And then when I picked back up with the LDN after that, that pain never came back. So I don't know what that was, but I know there was a correlation with the LDN because I rolled out everything else. But I just needed a break. Now, during that time, I started to feel hormone symptoms come back. I started to feel old reactions of like allergy symptoms like coming back. And I was like, I don't like this at all. And so I was so happy to get back on it, get back to normal.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your inspirational story with us. It was great to catch up with you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I just feel like I'm a huge advocate for it. Like I'll see people like kind of lean on it because they're like, oh, it's supposed to be this thing that covers everything. But I don't know how I would be if I hadn't done all the other health things and the healthy lifestyle that I lead. I think that makes it even better and even more for LDN to work even better. But that's just my experience with it, and I hope that others can learn from it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, that was good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm Dr. Leonard Weinstock, a guy who's been prescribing LDN since 2005, and I've seen the wonders. And I keep on seeing them, especially in hard to diagnose conditions. They're not that hard to do, but once you know about mast cell activation syndrome, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, and Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, you'll find that 17% of your friends or relatives have one or more of these conditions, and you can help them. We're making a documentary to wake up the medical community, to educate the population, but we need funding. So please fund whatever you can afford, no matter how little, www.mcasfund.com. That's mcasfund.com.
Any questions or comments you may have, please email me, Linda, Linda, at ldnrt.org. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for joining us today. We really appreciated your company. Until next time, stay safe and keep well.